In 2022, Western sanctions immobilized roughly $300 billion of sovereign reserves belonging to a single country. That specific event forced a massive recalculation. Dozens of finance ministries around the world watched that happen and drew the same conclusion. Holding your national reserves in a currency system controlled by another government is now an enormous strategic vulnerability. Somewhere tonight, a family is sitting at their kitchen table, staring at a grocery receipt that is 12% higher than the exact same trip a year ago. Nobody in that house voted for a sudden tariff, a new war, or a shift in central bank policy. There is no single villain on the evening news to blame for this specific bump. The real cause is much quieter. It lives inside the boring, long-horizon decisions that sovereign treasuries, pension funds, and central banks are making right now, behind closed doors, with trillions of dollars. For 30 years, the global supply chain prioritized absolute efficiency. Companies found the cheapest labor, the cheapest shipping, and built a highly connected, single-loop global system. Today, that map is breaking apart into overlapping, disconnected regional networks. The fracturing of the global economy has baked 3 expensive hidden line items directly into the final price of those groceries. The first hidden cost sits inside the physical production of the goods themselves. The era of the seamless global assembly line is effectively over. Take a look at the United Nations' recent World Investment Report. Global foreign direct investment, the money companies use to build physical infrastructure, has dropped to record lows. Capital is becoming increasingly selective and cautious about where it settles. Instead of pouring cash into one super-efficient overseas hub, companies are building duplicate backup factories closer to their home markets. Economists call this friendshoring. Operating 2 separate, overlapping factories is inherently more expensive than running one highly efficient facility. To fund this massive rebuilding effort, patient institutional capital is moving away from public markets. They are quietly pouring money into private credit and direct lending, providing the slower, steadier financing these localized supply chains require. All of that localized redundancy is expensive. Eventually, the cost of that extra insurance is passed down to the person checking out at the cash register. The second hidden line item is the energy required for the heating, shipping, and manufacturing of every single item in that grocery cart. When oil prices push toward the $100 mark, it's a structural signal. It indicates that major buyers are paying a premium to guarantee where their energy comes from and who they buy it from. Nations that used to rely heavily on one dominant supplier are aggressively diversifying. They are locking in long-term contracts across multiple partners, while pouring billions into domestic renewable projects. It is the geopolitical equivalent of refusing to keep your entire life savings in a single bank account. By prioritizing energy security over absolute efficiency, the era of ultra-cheap pricing from a single major supplier is gone. That security premium is now absorbed into your home utility bill, the local gas pump, and your everyday groceries. The third invisible cost comes from the plumbing of the global financial system itself, the way countries actually pay each other for international trade. In 2022, Western sanctions immobilized roughly $300 billion of sovereign reserves belonging to a single country. That specific event forced a massive recalculation. Dozens of finance ministries around the world watched that happen and drew the same conclusion. Holding your national reserves in a currency system controlled by another government is now an enormous strategic vulnerability. Central bank gold purchases spiked to over 1,000 tons annually, settling near 860 tons for 2025. Nations aggressively bought assets nobody could freeze. Simultaneously, the US dollar's reserve share steadily dropped from 71% down to under 57%. When a seamless single currency trade network breaks apart into multiple competing payment systems, those transactions take much more effort. That added friction is the final hidden tax layered into everything we buy. These higher prices represent the structural baseline of a fragmented global economy, but you can adapt. First, start buying staples on a scheduled rotation. By picking up non-perishables in modest bulk during sales, you absorb the upward drip of supply chain redundancy, rather than reacting when the pantry is empty. Second, audit your home's energy efficiency. Because energy is the hidden cost inside almost everything, small fixes like weather sealing or appliance timing act as a permanent buffer against the next surge in global energy premiums. Third, build your own personal redundancy. While institutions are hoarding gold, the average household benefits far more from a boring, diversified cash buffer. Don't chase single-week headlines. Establish a solid foundation that lets you absorb a price shock without taking on debt. And going forward, pay attention to the underlying numbers, specifically the next round of central bank reserve data. If gold buying stays high while the dollar's reserve share slips further, this long-term trend still has plenty of room to run. Families who calmly adjust to this fragmented reality will find themselves in a much stronger position. Next time, we are going to look at the direct link between global geopolitics and your monthly rent. Subscribe to As Macro Lens, and I'll see you there.